أحسنتم، بارك الله بكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أحسنتم. لا تعليق مو طويل، أنا مو شايف. اي بس لف لي اياه. اي جزء. احسنت. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك المعصومين المظلومين. Salutations upon you, O Messenger of Allah. Salutations upon you and upon your infallible progeny. Sallallahu alayka ya Sayyidi ya Gharib ya Madlum Karbala. Salutations upon you, O Aba Abdillah, O he who was estranged and oppressed on the land of Karbala. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. We wish we were with you, our Master Hussein, for that would have been the greatest of victories. Arib Karbala, all together. Arib Karbala, Arib Karbala, Arib Karbala. Estranged on the land of Karbala, Madloom Karbala. Let's get ourselves in the mindset. Think about the oppression that the Imam faced. Madloom Karbala. I can't hear you. Madloom Karbala. Oppressed on the land of Karbala. Shaheed Karbala. Yalla, I can't hear you. Shaheed Karbala. Shaheed Karbala. Martyred on the land of Karbala. Now all together, let's give our salams to the Imam. Assalamu ala al-Husayn وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد. Okay, Shabab, come this way حتى you can face me and I don't have to face a strange angle. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. يلا علي، يلا حباب. بعد لهنا. اي جمع. بارك الله بكم، بارك الله بكم. قوله الحق. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Holy Quran the truth in the chapter of Fussilat, verse number 53. We continue with this. Allah states, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآثَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah says, we will show them our signs in the horizons and within themselves, حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ, until it becomes clear and apparent to them that He is, meaning Allah, is the truth. أَوَلَمْ يَكْفِ بِرَبِّكَ أَنَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Is it not sufficient for you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala على كل شيء شهيد عفوا, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bears witness over all things. صدق الله العلي العظيم. آمنا بالله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Now, in these past nights, we've been working on learning about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about our purpose in life. We learned how to prove that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only exists through the proof of creation, but that Allah has the most important characteristic of being what? Of being say it loud, being unlimited. Ahsantum. And we said we can prove that very simply by just saying that a creator of something is not limited by what it creates, meaning that that thing that creates is more than what it creates. If my mother creates sabzi or qima or bamia, she's more than her sabzi, qima and bamia, right? If an artist paints a painting, he's more than the paintings that he paints. If an engineer designs a bridge or a building, he's more than that bridge or that building. They might be someone's son or daughter. They might have other talents, right? Okay? They might be a lawyer as well, or they might be a doctor. They're not defined by that specific one thing that they create. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Which means that they're more than that which they create, and therefore we found this universal concept that we can all agree upon when it comes to creators, and that is that they are greater than what they create. So we said, let's take that, let's apply it to the world of limitation, to everything that is limited, right? And say, what about the creator of everything that is limited? The creator beyond whom there is no other creator. We say, well, since the creator is greater than what he creates, then that creator is greater than all of limitation, which means he has to be what? Limited or unlimited? Unlimited. Ahsantum Ali. Barakallahu bikum. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We said that means that since he's unlimited, he doesn't have a beginning, because a beginning is a limitation, and he doesn't have an end. An end is a limit as well. That means he always existed and will always exist. Ya hayyan qabla kulli hayy, wa ya hayyan ba'da kulli hayy, wa ya hayyan hina la hayy. Right? So, O he who exists before all things and after all things and when all things cease to exist. That's what that actually means, right? It is a statement of Tawheed. Let me give you another example of a statement of Tawheed. When we say Allahu Akbar, right? Many of us, we don't realize what Allahu Akbar actually means. It means Allah is greater. So no matter what you say, Allah is greater than that thing. Allah is always going to be greater than what? Than limitation. Which means that he's what? Limited or unlimited? Ali, unlimited. Ahsant, barakallahu. Right? So now even when you look at that term and you say Allahu Akbar, now it has a deeper, more profound meaning than, just saying Allahu Akbar when you go down to your ruku'. Right? Now, if you really contemplate over this statement of Tawheed, when you say Allahu Akbar, you say it wholeheartedly. You say Allahu Akbar. No matter what happens to you in life, what happens? What do you say? You say Allah is greater. You see? See the difference between saying Allahu Akbar and saying, I understand the meaning of that. That Allah is unlimited and above and greater than all things. Greater than any calamities and trials that I go through, right? Now we said, since Allah is unlimited, and that means that he is always existing, that means that he is everywhere as well, because he doesn't have any limits. He's not limited by eyes with which to see, and yet he sees all things as a result. And he's not limited by ears with which to hear, and yet he hears all things because he is unlimited, he is everywhere, right? If I'm right, tell me I'm right. If you agree, say I agree. Good. I love being told that I'm right, by the way. Okay, so next we said flaws. Are they limits and limitations or no? Yeah. Ahsant, exactly. Barakallahu bik. Hamani al-Dhuwa. Okay, so yes, exactly. All right, so a flaw is a limit. And we said Allah has no limits. He's unlimited. That means he's flawless. Ahsantum. Another term for flawless, sisters, is perfect. Exactly, ahsantum. Right? So that means then that Allah is all perfect. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Now, the next thing that we are able to deduce from this is something very simple. Since Allah is all perfect, that means he doesn't make mistakes, right? He doesn't contradict himself. That means that everything that he does with a purpose and for a purpose. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Good. So that means I am here for a purpose. You are here for a purpose. All of us have purpose. Everything Allah creates is for a purpose. And so that means then that everything has an intrinsic value. Why? Because the all-perfect chose for it to exist. Got it? If you got it, say I got it. If you agree with me, say khosh. Ahsantum, barakallahu bikum. All right, so then that means that since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all perfect and He is all purposeful and He, the all perfect, chose for each and every single one of us to exist, then how valuable are we to Him? A lot. Just a lot, though. Great value, right? Great value. So who do I need to get my self-worth from? Do I need to be looking at those cool kids in school? Cool, quote unquote, right? Pretending to be cool. Give me a break, right? Okay. Trying to set the standards for cool, right? Right? That's not cool. What's cool is accepting others, realizing that everyone here, right? Everyone out there was created by Allah and everything was created by Allah. Therefore, it has intrinsic, inborn value, innate value, which means all of us and everything, when it's created, it has an important value because it has purpose and because Allah, the all-perfect, deemed it worthy of existing. And so who do I get my self-worth from? Who? Who? Allah. Who? Allah. Allah. Santu. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that means then, should I have low self-esteem? Because think about it. What are the things that cause low self-esteem? Right? The fear of not being accepted, the fear of not doing enough, the fear of not being, the right color or the right having the right athleticism, or not having the necessarily, let's say, the intellectual capacity that others may have, right? All of that stuff doesn't matter. What matters is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Allah, anytime you feel that you're alone, know that you're not alone. Why? Because where is Allah? He's everywhere. Right? You're never alone. When you have that feeling, sisters, brothers, when you have that feeling that you're the only one that's on the path of right and everybody is wrong. And I remember during university when I had a conversation with my mother and I said, Yani maqula, they're all wrong and I'm the only one that's on the right path. You are going to face times like that, but know that you are not alone. Sometimes the path of truth can be a lonely path. But that doesn't mean that it is not the truth. Agreed? As long as you are with Allah and you walk on the path of Allah, then Allahu hasbuk. All you need is Allah. Look at Imam Hussein, salamullah alayhi. How many companions did he have? Right? لا لا تعال اقعد هنا تعال هنا. صلوا على محمد وعلى محمد. I promise you, I will not lean back so that I feel the discomfort you're feeling when you're sitting down. Khosh? Okay? Not that I can lean back with how far this chair is, mashallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So next we said, all right. We said, now that we understand this, we understand our self-worth, we said, what is our purpose? Last session, last class, we were able to prove that our purpose is similar to, showing gratitude to our parents because they brought us to this world, because they have a great right upon us, because they educated us, they fed us, they sheltered us. What else did they do for us? Taught us how to read, taught us how to speak, right? Taught us how to be good human beings. Agreed? Right? So I should show them gratitude, and so I will always feel indebted to them, and I will always seek to please them. Make sense? And we said, since Allah gave us our parents and their parents and their parents and everything that's around us and the very breath that we breathe, that means that who has the greatest priority upon us to please Him and to thank Him and to show Him obedience? Who? Allah. Say it loud another time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ahsantum. All right. Then we said, so how do I show gratitude? We said 2 ways. One, through emulation, just like a good child emulates their father or their mother to learn the proper mannerisms, right? We see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives all an opportunity, right, to thrive and survive in this world. And so who are we not to give them opportunity, right? Allah, when we sin or transgress, He gives us chance after chance after chance. And yet when somebody says something that I dislike, I automatically cut them out of our lives, right? cut them out. 20 سنة 40 سنة ما حكي ويا أخته، ما حكي ويا أخوه، يابا ليش؟ والله غلطت على زوجتي، غلط على كذا. يا شو القصة؟ ايش دعوة؟ صاير بالدنيا؟ ها؟ ايش قد احنا نغلط بحق الله؟ زين؟ الله يتركنا؟ يقطع منا؟ Let me translate into English, right? This was for our wonderful parents. Of course, nobody here does this, right? I was saying, look, Allah gives us opportunity after opportunity, no matter how much wrong we do. Even if we don't understand Allah, even if we haven't discovered Allah, He gives us the breath. And what is a breath? That next breath, what is it? Can anybody tell me? It's another chance. Ahsant Ali. Yes, it's opportunity. You're going to be a future Sheikh, inshallah, one day. Then yes, it is a chance. It is an opportunity, right? So who am I not to give others opportunity? I make mistakes and Allah forgives me and gives me chance after chance after chance. Who am I to say, oh, 3 strikes and you're out? Can ahsan min Allah? Am I better than Allah? Right? One person does one thing that's wrong to me, I cut him off and I don't talk to him for years. Wallah lesh. Oh, remember that one time that I talked to somebody 3 years ago. He said, you said this to me. I said, Ya Allah, 3 years anta lazim hal-mawdu' alayya. 3 years. You know, you couldn't have come to me when that occurred 3 years ago and said to me, listen, you know, this happened. I just wanted to know what your intention was. Why do we have this issue? Why do our egos get in the way? We're in the presence of Allah. We have to humble ourselves to Allah. Right? Just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala humbles himself to us. Think about it. If we make mistakes and Allah is the all-perfect and He brought us so that we can progress towards perfection, then when we transgress against Him, meaning that we go against Him, and He gives me another opportunity, is that not Allah humbling Himself to me? Does Allah need to humble Himself to me? Does He need, or do I need? Who needs? Allah, the unlimited? Remember, need is a limitation. So who needs, me or Allah? Yalla jawabu. Who is in need? Me, ahsant Ali, inshallah, another future Sheikh, inshallah, in our midst. Right? So, all right. So we got the fact that we have to show Allah gratitude. That is our greatest purpose. Okay? And Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he says it beautifully. Cover this in the second series, inshallah, if given the opportunity, where Imam Zayn al-Abidin says, and the words of Imam Zayn al-Abidin in Risalat al-Huquq are extremely important to us. Asfar, Husayni. How many of you here are Husayni? How many? Who's a Husayni here? Well, I don't see a show of hands. Who's a Husayni here? أنا أسمع الكبار يقولون all of us, بس الصغار ما قاعد. Who is a Husayni here? If you're a Husayni, raise your hand. Who is a Husayni? Meaning who walks on the path of Hussein, salamullahi alayhi. Right? If you are, put your hand up. If you want to be a Husayni, then you have to know the legacy of Imam Hussein. The legacy of Imam Hussein is in the words of his son. Each one of these children are a legacy for their parents. Imam Zayn al-Abidin was a legacy that Imam Hussein left for us. And so knowing what he says is knowing what Imam Hussein wants us to know. So having Risalat al-Huquq as an app on our phones or a book on our shelves is something we have to have if we want to call ourselves Husayniyun. Agreed? Fathers, moms, yes? Sisters, brothers, agreed? Who has Risalat al-Huquq on their phone? The treaties of rights. By a show of hands, who does? No one? Okay, so now we know what we need to do. Get on your phone, go to the Apple Store, go to the App Store, the Google Play Store, and download the Treaties of Rights, Risalat al-Huquq, and As-Sahifa Sajjadiyya, because this other book is a book that has a dua for everything that you would imagine, okay? And in that book of dua, the Imam literally changed the nation, literally. But I'm just going to give you the first right, which is Allah's greatest right. وَأَمَّا حَقُّ اللَّهِ الْأَكْبَرِ عَلَيْكَ. And as for Allah's greatest right upon you, فَأَن تَعْبُدَهُ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِهِ شَيْئًا. For it is that you worship Him, that you don't ascribe a partner to Him. فَإِذَا فَعَلْتَ ذَلِكَ بِإِخْلَاص. If you do so with sincerity to Allah and to Allah alone, جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لَكَ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ أَن يَكْفِيكَ أَمْرَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. That Allah will make it mandatory, compulsory upon Himself, right? That He must do this. that He will give you sufficiency in this world and in the hereafter. وَأَنْ يَحْفَظَ لَكَ مَا تُحِبُّ مِنْهَا. And that He will preserve for you what you love from this world. How many of us want sufficiency in this world? Sufficiency means that I want everything that is fulfilling for me. Yes? How many people want to feel fulfillment in this world? How many of you here? Everyone, right? And Islam is a religion of formulas. So the Imam gives me a formula here. Then what do you have to do? You have to worship He gave you, to showing Him gratitude with sincerity to Him. No one else. Sallu ala Muhammad wa So then the Imam here is being very clear. He's giving me the formula of what I need to do, right? And it's exactly what I came to with my logical deduction. Now, we said you also have to ask Allah, just as you would ask your parents, or you would expect your teacher in school to assign you, or to, if you want to understand something, you say, what are you assigning? When is our exam? When are the tests going to happen, right? You want an explanation and a communication. We said we'd cover that later, right? Yesterday we covered the whole issue of purpose. But today what I want to do in this limited time that remains, this is going to be a nice challenge for me, okay, because we have 5 minutes to cover this. You guys ready? You ready? Think of yourselves in a Formula One race, okay? And we have to navigate these turns. So I want you to put your helmets on, okay, and focus with me. Got it? And remember, whoever takes notes, in every class that you take notes, and you send me those notes, after the 14th of Muharram, I will send you a gift for every single class that you gave me your notes for. Okay? Ali showed me his notes yesterday, right? So you're going to get a prize for that one. Okay? He wrote for me his understanding of things so far. So now, let's move on. I said that when we were doing the proof of organization, where we said, we looked at examples of this in this world, we said, okay, these are all things that are organized. We said, therefore, based on these examples, the world is organized, right? Then we looked at, in the second part of the proof, we said, okay, well, let's ask the question, for something to be organized, does it not need an organizer? We said, oh, for everything to be organized, it needs an organizer. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Good. Then we said, okay, let's review the two. Since the world is organized based on those examples, and everything that is organized has an organizer, a creator of its organization, that means the world has a creator. I said, someone's going to come to you and try to poke holes in that proof. They're going to say, hang on, you say the world is organized, but what about natural disasters, right? What about earthquakes? What about tsunamis? What about congenital disorders? What about birth defects? What about wars? This is the time to answer those questions, right? I promise. This is the time to answer. Yes, Ali. Didn't I tell you, inshallah, you'll be a future Sheikh? Okay, very good. You get a prize for that. Okay, Ahsan, tabarakallah bik. So let me explain it now. Yeah, and let's see if it matches what you said. Right? It does. So don't worry. All right. So when we look at natural disasters, for example, okay, let's take earthquakes. Yeah, let's take earthquakes. Earthquakes. Why do they occur? They occur because of the movement of the tectonic plates. Right? This is a scientific. Now, the way the world is organized, it's organized in a manner that this closed system, where that is molten lava, right? That is a heat source, it's going to cause movement. It is a ever-changing, enclosed system. Think of it as a pressure cooker. Everybody knows what a pressure cooker is, right? If I put food in a pressure cooker, and and a little water, and I close that pressure cooker, and I leave it to cook, right? Eventually, what's going to happen? That pressure gauge on the top of the cooker is going to start reaching the maximum in the red, right? At that point, if I don't relieve the pressure and it starts whistling and pushing the steam out, what will happen to that pressure cooker? What will it turn into? Yes? Okay, yeah, it'll start moving. What else? What'll that turn into if I don't relieve the pressure? Yes? What's your name? Did you say it? Who said it? Who said it turns into a bomb? Yes, it turns into an explosive device. Exactly, yeah. Okay? So that means that if I don't relieve the pressure, then there's going to be a calamity, an explosion. So imagine this world, since we proved that it's organized, right? We know that this system is also ever changing because of the heat source in the middle. Its movement is occurring, its layers are moving. That's a scientific fact. So when the layers move, at one point, what's going to happen is there are fault lines that Allah has created on this earth. And these fault lines are like that head of the pressure cooker, where you relieve the pressure from that point. So Allah created several points to relieve the pressure. So if you're there at that point when pressure is being relieved, then you're going to be in the earthquake or in the tsunami, right? Or in the volcanic eruption when it occurs. And what will happen then? You might get injured or hurt. But the number of people that get injured or hurt as a result of that, is it the entire world? Like if there weren't any fault lines, right, to relieve the pressure, what would happen to the earth? Like that pressure cooker, it would turn into what? Okay, no, actually the earth would even what? Yeah, it would completely explode. It wouldn't even be a planet anymore. It would be gone, obliterated. Right? It would be completely obliterated. It would explode. Okay? So these pressure lines are extremely important, right? To relieve the pressure. This is part of the organized system. So that tells us then that, look, when it comes to trials and tribulations that we go through in our lives, there's really two reasons for them. One is trials and tribulations that we experience because of God, right? Because of choices God made. Things that have to do with the organized system, like the earthquakes, right? Since they come from God, that means we say Allah is unlimited, He's all perfect, right? He doesn't contradict Himself. And since He's all perfect, we know that He is all purposeful. So that earthquake, those fault lines are for a purpose, right? If a person dies there, then we say, oh, that's an all purposeful act of God. Right? You might say, oh, but isn't that senseless death? We say no, because who chose the death or the injury for that individual? It was Allah. And since Allah is all perfect, that means He's all just. Now, I might not understand why that is, but that doesn't contradict, the fact that Allah is all just, because He's the one that chose for this to happen. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. If it makes sense, say it makes sense. Good. So then based on that, then I say, all right, then that means congenital disorders are the same thing, right? So if a child is born with a congenital disease, if someone has cerebral palsy or multiple sclerosis or even cancer, right? Then what? Is this a test from God or not? It's a test from God. Is it fair or not? Why is it fair? Because who is the one who gave that person that test? Allah. And Allah is all ahsant, and all perfect, and all just. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Okay. So now what about wars? Because now we've taken care of those things that have to do with God's choices for us, right? But then what about the other type of tribulations that come from our own choices, like what we see today, for example, happening in Palestine, right? Netanyahu attacking and killing all these innocent people. Or in the days of Saddam, the reason why many of us are here, because so many of our family members were killed or persecuted, right? When you have an evil person making choices that are bad. Now here, people say, well, is there predestination or do we have free will? Well, the question is very simple, okay? To answer this question, all we have to do is say, let me ask you this. Do any of you like to be forced to do anything? Does anybody like to be compelled? Is compulsion, being forced to do something, good or bad? Bad, right? Everybody agrees it's bad? Yes? Yes? Yes or no? Okay, sisters, yes? Okay, good. So then being forced to do something is bad. Now we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all perfect. So would He do anything bad? No. So then is Allah going to force us to do anything? Based on that, what's the answer? Is he going to force us to do anything if it's bad? He's all just. He's all perfect. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Right then. So then, what about choice? Is choice good? Do you guys like to have choices? You like to choose stuff, right? Like what you wear, what you eat, right? Yes? What school you go to when it's time to go to university, right? Everybody loves choice. Agreed? Is choice good or bad? Everybody agree with Ali? Choice is good? Yes or no? Okay, good. So choice is good. So since choice is good, would Allah give us choice or no? Yes. So now then, being bad, right? Being is good. Agreed? All right, so that's clear now, yes? So that means then, even if I make a bad choice, is that good or no? No, it is. Because Allah gave me the opportunity to make the mistake, right? Because Allah gave me the opportunity to make the mistake, that's good of Allah. Because He's being fair. Does that make sense? Right? So no say that Allah is unfair because He's unlimited, He's all perfect, therefore He's all just. So when He gives me choice, choice is what? Good. Yes, choice is good. So if I make a good choice, that's great. If I make a bad choice, is that on Allah or on me? On me. So now, does choice mean that I'm predestined or that no, I'm the one that chooses my destiny in such a case? Ahsant Ali, exactly. I'm the one that chooses my destiny. But aren't there things that are predestined, Sheikh? Now you might ask. I'll tell you yes. Okay. So for example, the sun rising and setting from the same place, rising from the east, setting in the west, right? Happens all the time, every single day, right? Okay, that's pre-programmed. That's predestined. The way my liver works, how many times I blink, no matter how much I try to control it, at the end of the road, my body is going to go back to doing what it's programmed to do. I can't control my liver or my kidneys or my heart. Yes, I might do martial arts and try to slow down my heart, but eventually, right, nature, the program within me that Allah has placed within me takes over. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Right? So now then it's clear to me that choice is good. Allah gives me free will, and there are things that are pre-programmed and predestined. Agreed? If you agree, say I agree. Right? And that means then that if I choose to smoke and I get cancer, that's not Allah's fault. That's a result of my bad choices. Agreed? And if I become an evil person and I choose to hurt others, then that's not God's fault. Whose fault is that? That person's fault. Agreed? How I deal with that, right? I might feel I'm overburdened, but will Allah overburden me? If Allah's all just, then He's not going to do something bad such as overburdening me, which means that everything I go through in this life, I can handle. Agreed? Because Allah is all just. So He's not going to give me more than I can handle. Agreed? Yes? Good. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And so you see, brothers and sisters, Imam Hussein salamullahi alayhi was not overburdened with the choices that he made to please Allah, even though it meant that he would have to fight against Yazid and the army of Sa'd and Ubaidillah ibn Ziyad al-Mal'unayn. And so Imam Hussein salamullahi alayhi, when he chose to leave Medina, when Yazid had commanded, he had sent a letter to force Imam Hussein to pay allegiance to him in the middle of the night. And Imam Hussein would go with 30 men. He would go into the court of the Wali of Medina, and there would be Marwan al-Mal'un, and they would try to force Imam Hussein to give allegiance to Yazid. But Imam Hussein knew that he had a choice, and his choice was to choose Allah. So what does he say? He says, no. He says, I will not give allegiance to you. The likes of me do not give allegiance to the likes of you. And he said, the next day, tomorrow, we'll do it in public. The next day, he denounces. And the next day, he leaves where? To Mecca. Why? Because he heard that an assassin was coming to kill him if he doesn't give allegiance for sure. Right? And so Imam Hussein salamullahi alayhi, that night, he would go to the grave of his grandfather, the Prophet of Allah, and he would complain to the Prophet, and he would make dua, and he would pray, and in that period of time, he would see a vision that
the Prophet would say, dear son Hussein, there are levels of heaven that you will not reach without the shahada, the martyrdom that you will face on the land of Karbala. That this was written for you by Allah, for you to do from before you were even born. How so? We have narrations that state that when Imam Hussein was first, before even he was born, that the Prophet would reach the land of Karbala and he would be seen crying. And when asked why, he said, this is the land of Karbala. This is where my son Hussein will be martyred. This is where the household will be slain. This is where the women will be taken as prisoners of war. And sure enough, that is what would happen. On the land of Karbala, Imam Hussein, salamullahi alayhi, after he left Mecca and headed towards Kufa, he would be veered away from that path to be led to Karbala. And on the 2nd of Muharram, he would reach this land and his horse would stop from moving and he would ask, what is the name of this land? They said, this is known as Al-Ghadariya. He said, does it have another name? They said, yes, this is known as Nainawa. He said, does it have another name? He said, yes, this is known as Karbala. He said, this is the land where we will lay down our tents. This is where our men will be slain. This is where our هل من منادي ينادي وحسين وشهيدا السلام الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. Oh Allah, we ask you and we beseech you that you accept what little we offered, that you repay the debts of all those who are in debt, that you give health to all those who are sick, that you grant the wants and the needs of all those who are in want and in need, that you bestow your mercy on our dearly departed relatives, and that you hasten the appearance of an Imam al-Hujjah so that truth and justice will reign, so that you rid us of the oppressors and of all oppression. Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wal fatiha ala ruh al-marhumin wa li ta'jili faraji waliyillahi ala al-aradhin masbuqatan majfu'atan bis salati ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.